You face the boss of blades.
Hello Slingers, in this video we will be reviewing all of the cards that are white in Magic Spellslingers and saying whether the card is perfect, needs a buff, or needs to be nerfed. Oath of the Paladin, perfect. The only thing I would think that they could do is maybe make Aura of Courage cost 3, so that potentially you could go turn 1 Steed, turn 2 Divine Smite going second, followed by turn 3 Aura of Courage to just start doing stuff. But I mean, a lot of the time you do want to wait to get maximum value from Divine Smite. Healer's Kit, perfect. It does what you want. Bling Dock Pack, perfect. Power Word Stun, perfect. Redeemed Thief, needs a buff. I'm not exactly sure how you would buff it. The card itself is very well statted because it does have flying. During your turn, can't trigger traps. However, it does wind up causing certain traps to trigger, such as Immolating Glare, unless it is the only creature attacking. And it can still apparently be countered by Absorb, I believe people have said. But I would just make it so it just straight up has flying, period, instead of only being flying during your turn. But they seem to like to do that with stuff like Fledgling Griff. So, needs a buff, not exactly sure how I would do it though. Icing Death, perfect. The only thing I would change though is to change the debut to say destroy all other creatures with power greater than their health, because of the instance that your Icing Death gain more power from Gold Knight Harbinger, it will actually kill itself as well, and that feels really bad. Moorland Haunt, perfect. Could need a nerf. Not sure how you would do it. Maybe make it start turn 7, but honestly, the land is just really strong. The net drawback to it is you have to build your deck to take advantage from it. Fletchling Griff, perfect. Broke the Dawn, perfect. Thraben Sentry, pretty much perfect. I wouldn't really think you could do anything. Alarm Bell needs a buff. I would actually just outright unnerf it and make it so that it drafted again. I think that drawing the creature makes it so that it just inherently hurts Aether Figment, and a lot of the time you're able to sculpt your deck in a way where that drafting will be able to give you 1 of 3 creatures guaranteed, sure, but Alarm Bell having some degree of randomness to it is just not ideal for what it is, and it was nerfed because of Laboratory Maniac, which is clearly shown that is not as effective as it would be when Laboratory Maniac was not nerfed. Tack Yak, absolute perfect. Just 100% perfect. Everything about it, perfect. Desperate Prayer, perfect. Snaring Spectre, pretty close to perfect. I couldn't really think of anything you could do to make it better. It does the drafts, it flies. Suppress, pretty much perfect. It kind of just does what you want, yeah. Maybe make it so like it had another way to heal as well, other than just Miracle, or just make it stun an enemy creature or heal yourself for 2, because drawing an opening hand makes it pretty poor. Thalia, perfect. Vindictive Shot, perfect. Encore Performance, pretty much perfect here. Fiend Fanatic, perfect. Herald of the Host, honestly about as perfect as you can get it. It just doesn't feel that good of a card in general, but can't really buff it. Moonsilver Shackle, perfect. Parish Exorcist, perfect. Raise the Guard, perfect. Consecrated Captain, needs a buff. I would make it a 4/4, just to be decently on par with some of the other options, such as significantly worse than General Montgomery that can swing. But sure, this is on debut, but as a 4/4, it might actually see play. Devoted Cathar, perfect. Guardian Geist, I would just make it a 3/3 to be honest. 3/1 is very tough of a sell. Even though it does have armor and gives something else armor, it's just it inherently trades with everything. And 3/3 would allow it to at least potentially trade as much as 3 times. Just compared to like Devoted Cathar, it's significantly worse. Sure, it's common versus epic, but I mean, come on. Heron's Blessing needs a buff. Make it cost 3. It is significantly worse than Invisibility Cloak. It should not be costing the same as Invisibility Cloak. And that's after Invisibility Cloak got nerfed. Flying and Armor, it's pretty good. At 4 mana, no one's playing that. Proud Battlesmith, pretty perfect. Just doesn't really have much use. Similar to like General Adamri, but not nearly as powerful on attack. Restoration Angel, perfect. Captain of the Guard, perfect. Exactly how Miracle should be done, to be honest. Highwind Heron, I would make it a 4/4. Buff it, just make it a 4/4. Might see a bit more play. As that 4/3 is just very tough to sell on a 5-drop. Vanquisher Angel needs a buff. Add Demon, and then it might actually be good, because then it can kill a Death Shadow. Avacyn Unsealed, pretty close to perfect. It did see play at one point. It feels like it just does nothing unless you just get to win anyway. Sacred Sanctum. The rebalance made it pretty much exact how I'd want it to be honest. Perfect. Training Yard, pretty close to perfect on what you want for a land. Beginner's Luck, perfect. Champion's Grit, perfect. Maybe for 1 mana, it could need a nerf, make it so it doesn't give the 1/1. But I think it's just really strong, especially with the Axe. Daughter of Runes, honestly a perfect card. It's just I don't like it. Maybe make it a 2/2, but 2/2 on a debut sounds insanely strong. So it's probably fine costed. Maybe make it a 2/1. Just 1/2 is just horrible stat line here. Faithful Caracal, pretty close to perfect. Tested Rookie, pretty close to perfect here. Drum of Support, perfect where it's at. Ready to Rumble, card sees 0 play. I think it needs a buff. Gives all friendly creatures +0/+1. I would just make it +0/+2, or even +1/+1, to be honest. Then it might actually see some play, because at +1/+1, it would be still significantly worse than a Giant Growth a lot of the time, and just be a 1 mana less Glorious Anthem, which would actually be pretty good. Retaliate, it's perfect. Revoke, I think it's fine. It just doesn't really have a place in the meta in any regard. Shieldsmith, perfect. Yeah, Silver Griffin, just feels like a weak card. I wouldn't feel like you can buff it in any way, but it's pretty much where it is. It's just meh. Sun Empire Brawler, I don't think you could really buff it, because if you made it like a 3/2 or something, then it'd be a 4/3 for 2. And that would be in the ballpark of like Cross and Tusker. Maybe do that actually. Because the fact it dies to like a random Warding Flame or something immediately makes it kind of worse. And making on attack Cross and Tusker actually sounds exactly on brand for white. So give it a buff, +1 health. Make it so that it's a 3/2. It goes to a 4/3 and can snowball. That sounds good. Under My Watch, cards could potentially be pretty good. It's just no deck really wants it. So perfect where it's at. Weapon Rack, I would actually give +1 charge as a buff. I think 2/2 is fine, but if I were going to make it so that it actually would just see more play than it does, 3 charges is probably fine. Because if you compare it to like Bag of Tricks, it's completely weaker than like Bag of Tricks. Blasted Rebirth, perfect. Holy Armor, I would just make it cost 2, to be honest. At 2 costs, it might actually see play. Meant to see 0 play, so giving a creature armor for 2 mana seems fair when you're considering Gideon's protection, and adding 3 health to that is probably pretty good. Familiar Lair, perfect. Maybe potentially nerf it, make it cost 4, because it is arguably one of the only answers sometimes for a 1-hit kill. Leonin War Leader, perfect. Paragon of Balance, perfect. Hat to Exile, perfect. Pinpoint Avenger, perfect. Regna Redeemer, she kind of just does what you'd expect her to do. Yeah, I'd say she's just perfect. The fact that she dies easily by your opponent on your opponent's turn, was immortal on your turn, it's pretty much exactly what you'd think. Sparkly Unicorn, perfect. Spirit Vial, I would give it an extra charge and buff it, so that way you can make 3 1/1 flyers for 3 over the course of 3 turns. I don't think that would be overly powerful. So if I were to choose for buff, I would definitely give Spirit Vial +1 in its charge. Stoneforge Mystic, perfect. Swordsmith, perfect. Vainglorious Hero, yeah, he's pretty perfect. He's just way to win more, though, which is ironically exactly how the card is expected to perform. Angel of Mercy, I would say that she's pretty close to perfect, to be honest. The flying is definitely where it's at, and otherwise she'd probably be a 4/3. So it's totally worth it in that case, but she just feels a little bit weirdly costed. But any change to her would actually make her overpowered. Aven Tour Guide, I would just give the creature flying permanently if I were to buff it. I think that would be actually fair. It might be a little bit too strong, though, for a Johnny, so it might be good where it's at. But if I were to buff it, I would just give the creature permanent flying. Beneath Capuchin, perfect. Windborn Rock, make him a 3/5. He is a 3/5 in Magic the Gathering. Making him a 3/5 here would be totally fine. I don't think it would be overpowered to have a 3/5 flyer for 4. The ability is very strong, but at 2 power, it very rarely will even trade a lot of the 2-drops green has to offer. Canyon Knight, very interesting card, honestly. I don't think it's really going to see play or anything, but the ability is cool, and I would say it's perfect. Eminent Archangel, it's perfect. Sylvia Brightsphere, perfect. Team Captain, pretty perfect here. Watchful Giant, it's actually pretty perfect. If I were to buff it, I would make it so it heals for 3. Pearl Dragon, 4/8 for 6, flying, just C0 play, because who actually wants that? And I do like that it's literally has a 2, a 4, a 6, and an 8 on the card. If I were to buff it, I would give it +1 power. Second Sun's Dawn, perfect. Stronghold Commander, I would buff it. I would just make it so it gives your other creatures +2/+2. That way it's like a mini Crater Hoof for white, but it doesn't buff creatures in hand. This does cost 6. It doesn't have haste, so it's so much worse. And giving just health feels not super duper good when it could be giving power as well. Or maybe just give power instead of health. Sun Titan, perfect. Celestial Protector, honestly pretty perfect, and it's just surprising that no deck really has slots for it, because ability is very strong for stopping like Lava Wave. Day of Judgment, perfect. Chroma, Angel of Wrath, perfect. Exactly what you want in your finishers. Serra's Disciple, card's really strong, even got nerfed. Still sees absolute easy 2/0. Serra's Judgment, pretty perfect. Shrine of Valor, also pretty perfect. Can't really nerf it or anything because creatures are pretty well defined. You'd have to nerf those. Arden's Border, now he's perfect. Gideon's Protection, I would buff it. I would give the friendly creature +1/+1 as well. Gaining 1 armor for 1 mana is only just okay. Giving a power boost on top of it would actually make it feel worthy of being a signature. And giving Gideon for the rest of the game, it's not actually that relevant. Gideon's Veteran, honestly, I would buff it. I would make it 4/2. Because then it would be able to trade with other 3-drops pretty regularly. And it would take advantage of the armor for being able to trade better, but still down trade for 1-drops. So 4/2 would be good. Plains, yeah, it needs a buff. It's not very strong, being able to play planes in this game. I don't know exactly how you would buff planes, but it does feel very weak. Destabilize, perfect. Elite Vanguard, perfect. Lingering Spirit, perfect. Shows up, perfect. Devoted Steed, perfect. Elixir Vitality. It is arguably worse than Mend. It takes 3 turns to gain 1 more health. I would actually buff it by decreasing the charges to 2 and activate being heal 3. So it would do the same effect, but do it in 2 turns instead of 3 turns, and still see 0 play. Frontline Paladin, perfect. Young Healer, perfect. Mend, it's perfect. Heal 5 is pretty strong for 2. It's just it's a -1, so a lot of decks don't want it unless they're going for Strato TK. Chapelgeist, perfect. Perfect baseline stats for determining a 3-cost flyer with no abilities. Glorious Anthem, perfect. Smite the Monstrous, perfect. Towering Shieldbearer, it's pretty perfect. It does the thing. It's only we'll see play in Fair Fight Paragon decks. Ceremonial Guard, he's honestly just kind of perfect. I don't think he'd see any play at all. He does for 4 mana. He's nowhere near goo or anything else like that. If you were to take a buff, just make him a 6/6. I don't think he would see play even at that. Knight Militant, 4/4/4, summon Soldier. Card's pretty perfect, to be honest. If it did actually want to see play, I would up its power, make it a 5/4. Then it would have a little bit more chance and give you 6/5, which is on par for creatures that are 4-cost, such as in green. Thwack, it's pretty perfect. Nut of the Tusk, he's pretty perfect. I'd probably just make him a rounded out 5/5/5, buffing his toughness by 1, so that way he doesn't downtrade for 4-drops and below. And also, it's nicer to see. Rock's Pitfighter, he's pretty perfect. The effect itself just isn't particularly powerful, but he does what you'd expect for the mana cost. And lastly, Armored Angel, I would buff it. I would reduce its cost to 5. I have used Armored Angel, such as in the Star Deck tournaments, and being costed 6 is just a real bummer. I think WotC overvalues the effectiveness of armor and definitely overcosts flying a lot of the time in this game. So that is going to do it for white cards. Next, we will be doing blue cards. So if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like and put down what you think on your thoughts in the comments below. So like, comment, subscribe. Peace.